Thank you, Susanna, for your talk and for sharing with us so many tools that we can use to keep moving forward in our lives. As Susanna joins Yuri Castro, Lígia Carvalho, and Luiz Lima in the Q&A session seating area, please join me in welcoming our moderator for the first Q&A session of the day, Marcelo Medeiros, who will be guiding us through the questions you submitted earlier this morning. Marcelo Medeiros has been an active contributor to the US Spiritist movement since 2012, with a focus on media and communications. He is a committed member of the Caritas Spiritist group and coordinates Fraternity on the Streets in Atlanta, a project that supports the city's homeless community. We'd like to welcome Marcelo Medeiros.
Hey, good morning, everyone. We already got a few amount of questions here. We'll try our best to address all of them. If not possible, please apologize us in advance. And I'd like to start, let's go back to the first panel. Yuri, we have one question here, not only one, but I'll try to start with this one here. So, Yuri, Jesus said that it would be division and violence in the times of transformation of earth. The law of destruction is necessary when love did not prevail yet. Therefore, it seems that those times came to the planet with so much turmoil and anger and destruction and suffering. How can we help to awake our conscience and others when there is so much resistance to peace and love due to division and hatred?
Thank you so much, Marcelo. Thank you for the question, whoever wrote that. It's a great point because it is part of the evolution of consciousness. And yes, the law of destruction, as it was said by the panel before here, is this renovation, this renewal. It's not the end of all and that's it. Nothing else will happen after it or exist after that, but it's this renewal that is happening. It is something that we must have in mind as, like I said in my talk, as we move forward with our days and with our lives, that this is part of a transition, as Luis also said before. It's part of a transition that takes time. But we are impatient. We still see things with our material eyes. Therefore, we start to look at all the turmoil, the violence, the wars, and everything that's out there. And we may lose hope, we may lose faith because we don't see the full picture yet, as Lígia had that beautiful analogy at the end. We don't see the full picture yet. But these things do take time, and to answer the follow-up question that came, how can we be a part of it? What we can do, Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world. That's it. Modify ourselves, modify yourself, know thyself, look inward, have the courage to do that, and to shed pride and selfishness little by little, because it is a gradual process. There are no leaps in nature. So be the change you wish to see in the world. Start with yourself, because as you do that, others around you will be positively affected. They will change themselves as well. That's it.
That's great. Thank you. And Luis, now going back a little bit about to you for your panel. As technology and intelligence grows almost exponentially, but moral compass grows slowly, how this imbalance impacts the consciousness evolution in our planet? And will eventually consciousness evolve exponentially as well?
Yeah, progress is made of two things: moral progress and intellectual progress. And the spirits leave this very clear to us, that intellectual progress has to come first. And the reason is, it gives us a better ability, better discernment to make better choices by raising our level of intelligence ahead of the level of morality. So when we make choices, we make better choices. And that's how, that we can be more successful in the journey. And I think there was a second part to the question as well.
Yeah, it is. Will eventually the consciousness evolve exponentially as well?
Yeah, so the level of consciousness has to do with the level of morality and the level of intelligence. So as we grow, conscience becomes more of an asset. We don't see consciousness today as an asset. We see as just something that's out there. We mention the word all the time. Can you imagine Jesus, for example, and his level of consciousness, his level of morality was everything, not just oh yeah, that's right. Nothing like this. We can. Paul used to say this. Apostle Paul, he used to say, "The law is not written for the just." So our level of consciousness is so low that we need laws, a lot of laws, more articles on the law, the worse it is. Can you imagine if somebody said, listen, guys, let's get together here. We know Jesus is coming down. Let's put a law for when he comes down. It makes no sense. He doesn't need that. So our level of consciousness is going to improve with morality. And because everything is based on the law of justice, love, and charity, justice is at the base of everything. We cannot even understand justice yet. So anything above it becomes a challenge for us.
Thank you. Ligia, we do have some questions here about the youth and adolescents. I know that you have experienced in that, so I will ask this one for you. How can we get reluctant adolescents involved with and interested in the Spiritism when it's not something they are attracted to?
This sometimes becomes a little controversial for parents, and it has to do a lot with parenting and also with example, right? If you tell your children to eat certain things or to behave in certain manners, but you don't do it yourself, it's difficult. So if you don't have the same type of commitments, if you don't live certain those aspects within your daily lives, it's difficult to make children or teenagers motivated. It's sort of that kind of mantra, like you smile outside, but at home you're upset or you're angry or you don't talk. So you really have to embody, like I said before, I talked about Spiritism. I don't fully live it yet because I'm imperfect and I'm trying. So I think the first thing starts in the home. You imparting to your child that Spiritism is not just a religion or philosophy that you follow, but it's a means of seeing the world and making it part of everyday living. And with that, applying the gospel at home, because that way you're demonstrating to your child that you are implementing. The other thing is being aware of developmental stages. It is normal for children to test limits. It is normal for them to refuse, to not want to do certain things. And it becomes a back and forth play between you and your children. You know, what is it okay for them to refuse? What is not okay for them to refuse? I know many parents, they won't let their children not go to school. You need to get an education. So with a concept of religion is the same way. We know that children and adolescents, as bright or as mature as they are, they're still not fully able to understand the consequences and the ramification of a religious perspective in their lives until they're older. So as a parent, it is our job. As long as you live in my house, as long as you're a minor, you will follow what I believe is best. When you get older, you will have the freedom to choose. Just like us, we have free will, but our will is not 100%. God limits it based on our abilities. So the healthiest perspective is you set limits and boundaries. And one of the expectation is, as part of this family, we go to the center together, or we go to this place together, or we participate in this activity together. I don't like it. I understand. But this is what we think is best for you. When you're old enough and when you're mature, then you can make a decision. But while you're still a minor and you're still in my home, this is what we do. But you don't want to do it in a combative way. It may become combative if you have teenagers, but it's it's a way of implementing. It's like in your home, you have certain things, some family values that you don't let it be transgressed. And there are others, they becomes a negotiation. So I think it's about us prioritizing the meaning of spiritism in our lives. And it's sort of like if your child is sick, they don't want to go to the doctor. They don't want to get a shot. They don't want to get medication, but you give it to them, you force it to them because you know it's the best way. So it's the same thing with children. Yes, they have free will, they have volition, they should have a say in certain things, but to a limit. And I think when it comes to being engaged is you don't like it, you find it boring, you try to give me a hard time. That's what kids do. So expect it, be the parent. And instead of allowing that to become a point of conflict and fighting, it becomes a point, I'm your parent. This is a limit I'm setting. I would like you to comply. If you don't, there's consequences. And when you are adult, then you make your own choices. We don't let kids go without medication. We don't let kids go without food. We don't let kids go without school. Why should we let them go without spiritism if we believe it's the best for us? So that is my recommendation. Like I said, there may be struggles, but dealing with kids always struggles in it.
Thank you, Alicia. Now, Susanna, this one is for you. Is it fair to say that will gives direction to our thoughts and their energy? And if so, how can we train our will to direct our thoughts to things that are noble and worthwhile?
How do we train them?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, you have to there are two ways we can live our lives. We can live um, being pushed by the flow of life, as you think of an object that is in a river being taken by the current, right, by the external forces. Or we can seek to provide direction to where we're going, and this needs to be something that we actively choose to do. So the first thing is to choose to have the understanding and to understand that you have the power to guide your own life and to set the direction and also to set the pace. So once you are aware of that and you are committed to work with that, so you will work on having the discipline to make that a daily commitment. So for instance, every day when I wake up in the morning, I sit to have my breakfast, I open a page and I do a reading at the beginning of each day that helps me to set my mind for the beginning of that day. In the readings, I try to remember that I'm a mortal spirit. That is important to bring God to every single encounter and every single moment of my daily life, no matter where I am or what I am doing. So this is an exercise. It's an exercise that I do that help me every morning to reset my mind. The morning is a great time to do that because you're just waking up, you're fresh, and a lot of times the reminiscences of what happens during your sleeping hours will still be available to you and will come up to you in a form of inspiration. So the reference is one for us, Christian and spirits, is Jesus. So we have the reference, we have the gospel, we have the north, the compass, like Yuri said, and it's a matter of, like I said, paying attention to your thoughts, making sure you have a clear goal, understanding that it's not going to be a straight path, that some days you're going to be stronger, some days you're going to not going to be so strong, but having that commitment to reset as many times as necessary, to get up as many times as necessary, to take as many U-turns as you think are needed to get yourself in the correct direction. So all those things, and these are just some ideas and examples, are ways in which we can put ourselves in the right direction and strengthen our will so that it can guide us to where we want to be, a place of more harmony and happiness.
Thank you. I'd like to extend this question also to Yuri, Alicia, and also Luis, too, if you could talk a little bit about what helped you, each one of you, to awaken your conscience and go ahead and go forward.
Well, we go through different experiences in life, and I think when I first started going to a Spiritist center, I felt this, I would say, different thing about hearing somebody speak or teaching something and what's going on with my life and put them together. So that there is, my background is technical, very technical. So I was listening to things like uh, Andre Luis and Evolution into Worlds and stuff like that, which was very relatable for me. So the way this got into me is because it became relatable. What we see is a lot of people want to be in spiritism, want to, develop their abilities by learning spiritism, but it's not getting them, it's not getting into them. And I think it's because of that. It's not related to that person. You want to teach, I don't know, the spiritism by going this way, but the person needs it to be this way. And I think it's a lot of that. Spiritism has several different front ends, if you will. A lot of people are very much philosophical than religious, than technical or scientific. So, we need to be open for everything because one day it's going to hit us. And that's Victory Day. That's when we, say, that's it. Now, this is on my path and it's going to be okay.
Although I'm much older than Leo, his experience, I think, reflects in parallel my experience, having been in the Spiritist movement in the United States since I was 13. So imagine if we struggle now, 30 plus years ago was much more difficult. And I think was the concept of finding not just hope, but explanation within the text of Spiritism that allow me to have, I guess, the strength to try to do what's right. Because when we are younger, the temptations of the world, the pressures of the world, the lack of certainty about who you want to be in the sense of identity, it's really a hardship. And by studying Spiritism and better understanding Jesus and so many other people that, we see in the movement through the literature. I mean, the literature is one of the most beautiful things. Paul of Tarsus, the book of Paul of Tarsus. There's so many beautiful things. The collection of Andre Luis, they're novels, they're not study books where you have, like the questions that are presented. Those are a little more challenging. You have to really think through it in a more intellectual manner. But when you read the novels of Spiritism, it impacts you from the perspective where Susanna said, that inner sense of self, that being and that potential that you have to be better. So I think it was that really giving me that strength to know I didn't have to follow the crowd. I didn't have to do certain things because the person that I need to please, I wouldn't say God, but, it is ultimately God, but in that stage would be Jesus. And he showed me the path, and having that trust. And that also gave me strength because the temptations are there, my deficits are there, my difficulties are there. And I was able to overcome a lot of things by rationalizing the process, but then also controlling the emotions because the anxieties, the uncertainties, the fears were there. So there's no better therapeutic process than Spiritism philosophy that helps us to fully understand the laws of God through the teachings of Jesus and these other people. And they're so humanized because sometimes Jesus is like so far away, we feel like I'm too far. It's too big of a leap. But when you take about all those other personas and all those different stories, they're so humanized that they could be your sibling, your brother, yourself. And he shows you, yes, you can overcome challenges and become a better person. And then it gives you purpose. Because as we know, as you grow older, sometimes our job loses meaning. Our family sometimes gets broken up. Our children grow up and no longer, I'm a mom. Now I need to figure out something else to do. So our purpose in life changes. But Spiritism is a solid path that continuously gives us purpose every single day. And hopefully that can, be the path for you as well.
I don't think I've ever had this question asked before, and I had to think about it when it was it for me, and I think it was two times. I started in Spiritism when I was 8 years old. I was seeing things, hearing things, and my mom was like, "We got to take you somewhere and understand what's going on." And that's how I started in youth groups and learning about these things. So, but even at that time, I remember when I was around 10, I had this conversation with a friend who lost his sister. And everybody was saying, "Oh, your sister, now she's in heaven, she's in heaven." And I didn't say anything, but in my mind, I'm like, is she really? Like, is there such a thing? Why? What did she do to deserve to be in heaven? Which later, reading Heaven and Hell, and you start to understand about divine justice, about the reincarnation of the soul and the different passages in the body, you start to realize that there's nothing without purpose. And I think the awakening sort of the consciousness for me came when I was a child, and then growing into an adult and seeing and studying even more, but feeling that there was this pull, there was something was pulling me to continue to study, to give talks, to just express and take spiritism from the love I have for it from the inside to the outside through, preaching these things, but also, like Leisha said, becoming these things we're preaching. Because I can't come here and say, let's forgive, let's be kind to one another, and I go outside, I bump into it, and don't even say I'm sorry. So it's sort of in my head, I'm always like, I'm saying these things, I got to do these things, I got to do these things. So that's the awakening and the laws of God in our consciousness. And I think that's how, at least for me, it's what propels me to follow them.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, so we do have some more questions here. We will forward the questions to the speakers. Thank you so much again, Susana Simões, Yuri Castro, Lígia Carvalho, and Luis Lima.